at the top.
Got my phone up so I can see those who are texting later on. I'm Doc Rock, and I got John Allen, and welcome to Lead and Achieve. And tonight we're going to be talking about a few things in our community. We're talking about economics, leadership, education, all kind of mixed in. Just having a conversation with John Allen. And I'm going to introduce John properly, and then we're going to start a little chat here. And some of you may know John Allen. First of all, before I do a formal introduction, John is a friend. Okay, he's a friend. He's a friend of our community. He's a friend of what we do here, and he's a brother, and I mean that from the depths of my heart. But Mr. Allen is the CEO of the Huntsville Committee of 100. The Committee of 100, founded in 1995, is a business influence organization of 278 CEOs and professionals. And he'll talk about that and what they do a little later. Committed to strategies that impact economic vitality, supporting high-quality public education, and encouraging corporate local government. So, and he'll give some more definition of that. But also, you know, he as a member of the Committee 100, he supported the mission of the organization and he's been engaged at various leadership levels within the group. And lastly, from 2016 to 2017, as a chair of BizPac, which is the political action committee of the Committee of 100. Mr. Allen, a native of Huntsville, ain't too many of those around, is an Alabama licensed residential builder, and also has a current PE, which is professional engineering, this certificate in Alabama, which is really good deal. He is a ME, fellow ME, mechanical engineer, all right, graduate of Auburn, and that's good too, Mr. Allen John is also a Huntsville-Madison County Chamber of Commerce part of leadership class 16. Good class. I was class 30. Best class. We're the ultimate class, but it's good. Then he's a part of leadership Alabama class 25, which I'm a part of this 30th class. Maybe we'll get started in October, hopefully. And then he's a 2018 FBI Citizen Academy graduate. John currently is a life board member of the Huntsville-Madison County Builders Association, serves on the board of Liberty Learning Foundation, a trustee of the Huntsville Hospital Foundation, and a member of the Huntsville Housing Authority Advisory Council. So, John, welcome to Lead and Achieve, man.
No, it's great to be with you, brother. Yeah. I appreciate your friendship and appreciate what you do in the community with your church and all of the brothers and sisters here. So I just really enjoy being with you, worshiping with y'all, and just always having a conversation with you all.
Well, it's good, and people ask me, why I do this on this channel, because we know we got the Doc Rock YouTube channel, we have the church YouTube channel, and one of the reasons why I'm doing it on the church YouTube channel is because our faith means something, right? And you're a man of faith, I'm a man of faith, and thank God that God is in control. Okay, and we need to understand that the church is not here just for worship, but we're here to be an influence, and we're here to serve everybody. Whether you profess Christ or not, we're here to serve mankind, and we want people to know that. John, so let's talk about, first of all, who you are and your role and what the Committee of 100 is all about. Because a lot of people don't know what the Committee of 100, maybe thinking there's a bunch of Caucasian guys in a back room smoking cigars, making some decisions.
Right.
But it couldn't be all Caucasian because I'm a part of it.
That's right. No, I'll be happy to. Yeah, I am a Huntsville native, and I grew up in Northeast Huntsville. I went to Lee High School, and then graduated from Auburn mechanical engineering, kind of like you mentioned. And my first 9 years out of school, I actually worked in Decatur for 9 years and commuted back and forth. And so during that time, I got to see a lot of our community, a lot of our region, Decatur to east of the state, west, and I just really got a big perspective of the whole state and region and the communities that we work in today. And then I built houses for 15 years, and I've been in this role for about 4 years, September 1st. And actually joined the Committee of 100 in 2002. That was back when I was 31 years old, and I was a young guy, and I was thinking, what am I doing in this group of influencers and people that are making big decisions and helping our community move forward? And ever since then, I just have engaged in a lot of different roles in the organization, and then decided when our former CEO retired in 2017 that this was definitely the next step in my career, in my life, and the passion that I have. And so Our organization was founded in 1995, and the 8 founders really believed that a third-party business influence organization needed to be stood up that worked on high-quality public education for all, cooperative local government, making sure that our community leaders that are elected and appointed work better together because we're so much better together than apart. And then the third is long-term visioning, long-term economic development, really keeping our sites as a third party outside of the halls of your normal economic developers and elected offices as a third party business group that says, let's look 5 years down the road, let's look 10, 20 years down the road. And so as everybody in the community is doing their own specific missions, we're really looking at that long-term, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And the work that we do is hard, it's long, it's getting more people behind ideas and concepts that lift up all of our community. And so 90% of my day is spent looking down over the bow of the ship 20 years out and thinking, how are we going to get there, and what do we need to work on today to make us a better community tomorrow?
You know, and that's powerful because, you know, what do we need to do today to make us a better community tomorrow? Because a lot of people, and nothing against them, many people just think things happen. You know, we see businesses coming here, and we see roads being built, we see infrastructure going up and all these type things. And I think some people don't realize what it takes on the forefront of that. You know, all the energy, all the meetings, all the strategy sessions that was involved in order for us to have this quality of life that we have in Huntsville, Alabama. You know, it came out today, AOL, that Huntsville now is the largest city, city limits in the state of Alabama. You know, how did all this happen? And let me say this, because we're going to be talking about diversity, equity, inclusion some in this. You know, and what does an African American man fits in that? You know, can we be a part of the Committee 100? Right. Me representing brown and black people, but you know, how do these things happen?
Yeah. So and that's an absolutely great point. I mean, we as an organization, we pride ourselves on the diversity that we have in our members. We have over 280 members now. We have 50 of our members are young professionals, 22 to 35, and we specifically want a reflection of the community within our membership, and I believe we have that in our membership, and we're going to continue to strive to do that because we need to have all the different perspectives around the table. From black, brown, Hispanic, our friends. We need all the perspectives around the table so that we can really understand how best to execute our mission in those 3 areas that I mentioned.
Right.
And a lot of these things take a simple spark of an idea. We know one of the programs that we're working on now is board certified teachers, and to have the highest concentration. It's a special certification that teachers go through 4 modules. It's basically a master's thesis in 4 modules. It costs $2,000 to go through, and what we're trying to do is have the highest concentration in the country in Huntsville, Madison County in our public education systems. But that idea was started over 3.5 years ago with a simple breakfast with the superintendent that said, hey, I think the Committee 100 ought to sponsor 100 board certified teachers. And so those little ideas, now that we're 3.5 years in, is growing exponentially to create generational legacy building work in the public education system for all of our students.
So we want to educate, a board certified teacher. What does that bring to our area? I mean, if you have 100 board certified teachers or any board certified teacher, what does that teacher, what does she or he has that's an advantage versus not having that person?
Yeah, and so 3.5 years ago, I asked the same questions. I didn't have a clue what the superintendent was talking about, and started learning. And what we learned was that board certified teachers that go through this training process that takes them 1 to 3 years to complete, all of a sudden they actually bring, on average, about 3 months of learning gain in the classroom. That's to your underperforming students, your top students, your lower students. So all of a sudden you're really seeing achievement gains all across the spectrum in our community. So our goal is to have 1 out of every 4 teachers as a board certified teacher. So if your child goes through K-12, all of a sudden they have almost a year of gain in the classroom of a board certified teacher throughout their whole K-12 education. So it is impactful, the kind of work that we do. And when you meet some of these teachers, they will tell you that we're really working on the professional development of our career and our profession. And it's just remarkable to hear them. So it's a legacy work, and it's hard work. But at the end of the day, when we get this done in 3 to 5 years, we're going to look back and say, well done.
Yeah, and so in order for something like that to happen, there's cost involved.
Right.
And, I think I know the committee of 100, many people have committed and given actually money, individuals and companies and organizations, in order to sponsor. Am I telling the truth? This board certified.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And so, and to touch base on something you mentioned earlier is how do some of these things that just sort of appear and happen? And the reality is working better together and collaborating better together and having ideas that affect all of us, and then getting more people in the boat, pulling on the oars to move this ship down the river. And so that's what we try to do every single day, is get more people on board ideas. Some work, some don't.
Yep.
But ultimately, we want everything to be positive and moving forward in our community.
And so that's important, and when we talking about, I call this lead and achieve, because we need to lead and we need to achieve some things. We need results. We talk a lot, and talk is good, but talk can be cheap, right? As the old saying says. But we need people to lead. Now, when I look at leadership, leadership is influence. We can come up with 100 different definitions, but number one is influencing people to get something done, okay, to work as a team, an effective, cohesive team, even at that, but it's influence. And a lot of people, even in the black-brown community, don't think maybe they have enough influence in things of this nature, how to get to the table. What about us? I hear you saying board certified teachers, I hear you saying about businesses, but what about our community? What about our people, our leaders? Can they get involved? Can they be at the table? Can they express themselves? Not just Doc Rock, but anybody else? And I know ultimately it's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, but it starts with having a willing heart, one, willing to have the conversation, willing to have harder conversations, maybe behind closed doors, but also being willing to open the door for communities, open the door if you have influence to be in a room, have a conversation if you are in the back room having these conversations, say, hey, what about these communities? And what about these underemployed and unemployed in our community, black, brown, white, whatever that may be? How about this population of individuals? So I've shared this with you before, and others of our friends have said, shame on us, or if we cannot find opportunities for the underemployed and unemployed to access the economic opportunities we have of today and tomorrow. Now is the time. And so the model is out there of how communities have grown and outpaced the culture that's in the community and outpaced those that are less fortunate than us, that don't have access to influence or access to boardrooms, if you will. And all of a sudden they're moved to the fringe of the community, and you lose that cultural heritage in your city.
Yeah.
And so it's having that ability to be in those rooms, have that influence, speak for those that aren't in that room, but being willing to listen to those that have their perspectives that you've never heard before.
And you're right, and you hit something that I really wasn't going to talk about, but you hit it. So those who are in the room, those who are black, brown, white, whatever, yellow, when we are in the room, we have to speak for everyone. Right. It's time to speak, up and not just be giddy or just be excited that you're in the room. Because we can just be in the room and not be speaking for our constituents, speaking for the people that we grew up with, speaking for the less fortunate. Because the great thing is we living in a town, a city, a metro area that is growing leaps and bounds.
Oh, absolutely.
Huntsville is right now in the world news, the number 3 city to live in America?
Right.
I mean that's big.
Right.
I mean, that's huge. But at the same time, are we all enjoying this economic mobility? Do we all have the opportunity?
Yes.
And yes, they're there, but are they presented? Do we see those opportunities? And do we see how it takes a hammer, in order to build something, but where is the hammer? Where is it hid? How do I pick it up? How do I use it?
What is a hammer?
Yeah, what is a hammer, right?
I mean, so I know I've shared this with you before. I really believe this, which is, I think when we can get to the point of our conversations, when we're talking about opportunities, be it in the job, in economic opportunities, access to those boardrooms or those conversations, the first thing that we think about as leaders is, how does this affect the all? Too often it's, how does this affect just the some? And that's the first thing that you go to is, well, I'm comfortable with this demographic, or I'm comfortable with this pocket of people. I'm not really willing to have a conversation about the all because it's much harder. It's much more inclusive. It's hard work.
Yeah.
So I think as leaders, we need to default to the how does this affect the all? How can we encompass the all? And you know, as leaders, you can't make everybody happy.
Right.
I don't know if you knew that, but
No, you can't.
But you try to do the best you can with the heart that you have for the mission in your work, be it in Committee 100, be it in other organizations that you and I serve in as well. So, but if we can get to that conversation of how can we have this bigger picture conversation of the all, not the sum, versus the sum, not the all, we're getting somewhere.
And I hope y'all getting that, John. I mean, you say that so with I mean, just grace is on what you just said. You know, the sum versus the all, because the hard question or the elephant sometime in the room is, do you really want to just keep it to the sum? Do you really want to give opportunity to the all? And if I want to play what they call devil's advocate, some would say, well, I think the all, the sum want to keep it all.
That's a good point.
You know, the sum want to keep it all, and we have to come to the place to say there's enough for everybody.
Right.
There's enough resources. There's enough opportunity. There's enough for all. Right. So I have some, and I think sometimes we think, well, if I give it to the all, what am I going to have to give up? And maybe we have to give up something or hear that. But I don't think we should look at it that way, and I don't think we really have to give up anything but opportunity.
Yeah, and I guess when you're talking about that, I mean, the thing that just kind of goes through my mind is, we live in a broken world. And if you have a heart for people, and you have a heart for people in the mission that you serve in, be it, again, the Committee 100 or other groups that you serve in, and you have a heart for people, we can't fix all of the problems that we have in this broken world. No. But what we can do is set a table to collaborate around, and a table for people to come up to and eat. Yes. And it could be employment, it could be other things that are needed. And so we can't fix everything, but we can, if we have that concept of let's create an opportunity for all. We can't make people do things.
That's right.
But we can have that perspective in our mind when we're making decisions.
Yeah, and I think that is so true. We can't make anyone, but we can provide that, and we have to provide it. We have to give the marketing. Let me say it this way: the marketing has to be right, and it has to be spun out and put out there the right way, so people can digest it and eat it, and know that it's good and is not, and that they can trust the food, if I can say it that way, right? Because what happens a lot of times is, and we've talked about this, is that we give these opportunities and we put them in a place that no one in their community even looks at. I mean, that's not how they communicate. And we have more in common. You as me as an African American man, you as a Caucasian man, and we may mix that up from time to time, but it's all right. That's all right. But we have more things in common. You and I even talking. Then we have different, but those differences are unique, and they do affect our lives and other lives. So I think when it comes to the all, we have to get some emotional intelligence and have some self-awareness, but not just self-awareness about ourselves, but we got to have some social awareness. We have to have some empathy and see other people and say, okay, let me try to stand in their shoes. Even though I can't, let me try so I can see it from their perspective. And so when I do say, here's an opportunity, I carry it to the right person, to the right organization, and say, help me get this out. Sure. Because that's work. That's hard. It's easy to put something on a billboard, put something on Facebook or whatever, and say, "Hey, we gave them an opportunity, but did we really?"
Right. And I would say, I think we're in such a challenging time in our country, and when we get to the point where we say, "I don't care, Doc, what you think," when we can't have a conversation about hard issues. Yeah. And try to learn your perspective. And we may walk away and say, you know what, I can't, I just can't go there. Still love you like a brother. Yeah. But we've always got to have that spirit of collaboration that's hard work. The hard work's in the middle. Yeah. And so, but you have to have someone or something or some entity, some person setting a vision for what you want to do in communities or issues or these great things that are happening in our community and city. first you've got to set a vision, but ultimately you've got to drive results too. You got to have action to the talk.
Yeah, you do.
Action to the talk.
Yeah, and actions, and those actions require effort, talent, money, time.
Right.
And we have to be, as a community, if we're going to be community leaders or whatever, we have to be willing, okay, to give up that time, to give up that talent, and mentorship. Let's switch a little bit to diversity, equity, inclusion, but I want to switch in a sense of piggyback on mentorship. When we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, and especially equity, which is not affirmative action. Equity is, hey, don't just give me a shoe. I wear a size 12 and 13. That's what I need. You give me a size 7, it's a shoe. I can put it on my shoe rack and say I have a shoe, but I don't get any results from that. Right? So we as people, I think mentorship is very important. Both always, I can say it that way.
I do, and I will tell you, in the last year and a half, I have grown a lot by having, I will say, mentors that are less than 35 in my life that have a totally different perspective of things, which makes me a better leader, because guess what? They're going to be our leaders.
That's right.
And so for me to execute my role in a way that's more effective, I need to understand those issues. I need to understand the cultural issues. I need to understand the social issues that are out there.
Yep.
And the reality in our community, Doc, is that we are in America are browning. In our community, we're 62% white.
Wow.
And so the reality is that we are browning in America.
Uh-huh.
And so we've got to understand that the power structure is also changing. And so how do we continue to understand that our generations that are 20 years younger than us are going to be our leaders soon?
Wow, yeah.
And understand some of those issues that are important to those generations.
And you're speaking of that, I don't think the average person even have a clue, do not have a clue of the browning of the United States of America. And what we mean by that, is that, brown people are growing in numbers more than whites.
Correct.
And what was by 20, what's the latest? I don't know when, but it's like in 30, 40 years, it'd be more brown.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, 30, something like that. Don't quote us on that, but something like that.
Right.
It would be more brown than white. And so now we got to understand those cultures. We got to understand business, how it's done, leadership. So when I'm thinking about diversity, equity, and inclusion now, it's not just police rights. It's not just a George Floyd thing, even though it brought a lot of attention. It's about business as well. It's about how do we help the business world, as business people.
Sure.
Do we start mentorship programs? Do we explain what different organizations do? Committee 100, Chamber of Commerce,
Right.
these type things. What things do we need to do? Because what happens is that we start talking a lot.
Right.
And we get to talking, and we say, we throw things on the board, and we may have this think tank that all these ideals are put out there. But we have to find not just low-hanging fruit. We got to find some fruit that's way up on the tree that's going to take some effort as well, to get some things done.
Right.
Because that's how we're going to be judged in the future.
Yeah, and it's the future workforce.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be browner.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a business case to this conversation. So maybe an idea is we create a hiring academy where young students that don't even know how to dress to a job interview.
Mm-hmm.
What is a job interview?
Mm-hmm.
What do we do? What do we say? How do we dress? What's the appropriate way to present ourselves? Maybe we create this pathway of a hiring academy, and all of a sudden it's a pathway for individuals that never even comprehend what it means to have a job, to work in a space.
Yes.
Those are tangible activities that can happen to really continue to push more individuals that are, again, underemployed, unemployed, access into these opportunities we have of today.
And I think you said something pretty key: access. Access is everything.
Right.
You listen. There can be gold. There can be gold on the other side of a fence. But if I don't have access to go through that fence, it doesn't do me any good. I see it. I want it. I know it can help me, but I have no access to it. And I think the access part is important because that's the training. That's boots on the ground. That's the key to unlock the door. I mean, you see the door, but you don't have any key.
Right.
My goodness. And you're knocking and nobody let you in because you're supposed to have a key. Okay, I'm supposed to have a key. Where am I get the key from? How do you even use a key?
But whoever's got the key needs to help get you through the door.
Exactly.
You know, that's a key part of that access to influence and that access to conversations that need to be had to make a difference.
Yeah, and I feel that no matter what color you are, no matter what race you are, that if someone helped you get access to get in a room, to get to the table, to get a job, to be an influential person yourself, or whatever it may be, then you owe it to help somebody else. Mm-hmm. And so, I'm where I'm at because, black, brown, white, all have helped me, okay, to have access to be in certain rooms. Yeah, you got to work hard. Hard work, there's no substitute for hard work.
Right.
You can have talent, but if you have talent and I got hard work, I'm going to beat you.
Yep. Hard work pays off.
It pays off, okay? So hard work is number one. So we're not negating that, but you can work hard and still not have anyone to mentor you, to help you, to say, right, hey, you don't do this in this type meeting, or you dress this way, or you say this, or just help kind of polish you so when you're in the room, you're not looking stupid. Yeah. You're not, you bring some respect to yourself. Those things need to be taught, and we talk about this hiring academy. I like that.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, we can teach all those things and teach. There's some cultural nuances that goes on that I've had to learn. The last 6-7 years. And I've learned them on the job. Okay. I'm be full vulnerability. It's you're gonna start laughing, but it's simple, but it shows you the cultural nuances in when you're doing business. So generally in the culture that I was raised in, whether African American culture or just economic culture, but the culture I was raised in, when we all go to the restaurant, we all eat. Okay, and it's 15 of us, and they bring the food out. Generally, the food come out at close to the same time, but not everybody get their plate at the same time, not the same second. So generally, what happens is, in most cultures, what you wait, right? Right. Well, and we've never taught that. I've never taught that. So when your plate come out, what you do? You eat. They already asked the blessing, right? The meal has been prayed for. They brought your food out. You eat. Okay. So, full disclosure. So years ago, okay, they brought the food out. There was a group of us as business people, and they brought my food out, and they had already blessed it. I wasn't paying any attention to anyone else. It smelled good. I was hungry, and so I'm in there and I'm eating, man. I mean, I'm getting down for real. Right. And something, I think it's the Spirit of God said, look up. So I looked up, and I'm the only black that's at the table. Right. I'm the only African American at the table. I look up. Those who watch it, I know it's funny, but it wasn't funny at the time. I look up, and everybody just kind of waiting on everybody else, and I'm saying, oh my goodness, so we supposed to wait. So I eased my fork down. I kind of slid back and waited. I was very much embarrassed. I'm like, okay, I've been to all these places, but that's something I hadn't learned. I learned on the job on that one, right? So we have to teach those things, okay? It doesn't mean that I ain't have etiquette, but that's not what, in a social realm, in my, how I grew up, that's not how we did it. Matter of fact, I teach this all the time, and even when I'm teaching it, people say, I'm still going to eat. Cause right? Okay. So, and that's simple, but that's, I look at that as part of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Having information in order to change the situation, right? Right. That kind of thing. Right.
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, but it's partly, again, having that willingness to have conversations with different cultures and have conversations with different individuals to understand those norms in one culture that might not be in the other, in another culture, and being able to appreciate those things, because that's what makes your community culturally rich and diverse. And so, our community in particular, we have so many different melting pot of from the African nation to Chinese to our Japanese friends. I mean, we have such an incredible culture across our community. Those are all to be celebrated, and each come from a different place.
Yes.
And we're all come from a different place.
Yes.
And so that's just part of wanting to understand different cultures and the beauty that makes their cultures unique.
Yeah, and some of you are watching me, seeing me. I'm not texting, but we're live, and some of you all they texting, so I make sure the text is, and we'll take questions. But some say excellent. Somebody just said, hard work beats talent. And that's very true. And then Brother Daniel is always saying, great servant leaders, and the reason I'm saying we are servant leaders, and John, you are very much a servant leader, and you have a heart for the minority community and the community at large, no doubt about that. And there's some work that the Committee 100 is doing with North Huntsville.
Yes.
And can we talk about that a little
Sure.
bit? I haven't served on one of those committees with you, but let's just talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, so we, as an organization in our strategic plan from this last round where we really looked at our 2016 strategic plan, and so, I tell our board all the time, we can do anything, not everything. There's just two of us. So we can do all these things, but one of those in particular in our strategic plan is to assist and grow and develop North Huntsville, and that's really in a heart of humility and a heart of understanding and comprehension. And what we're trying to do is listen and hear from the community what they want as a community. We absolutely are not trying to say this is what would be good and this is what shall happen in your community. We're trying to be a resource. We're trying to use our influence, use our ability to listen and collaborate to really find a way to partner with the community to make things happen in that community in particular. And so we formed a North Huntsville Task Force, which is about 42 to 45 of our members, incredibly diverse group of individuals that have a heart and a passion for this strategic vision to grow and develop North Huntsville. And so we're really looking at how can we affect opportunity in North Huntsville when it comes to cooperative government. What kind of leaders do we need that are collaborative and cooperative so that we get good public policy and visioning inside of our elected leaders? Long-term economic development. What are some of those things that can really move the needle forward within that community in particular? Again, to have access to this incredible opportunity that we have in the workforce of today, in particular.
Yes.
And then the third is high-quality public education. How can we make sure that we're engaging at a level that's really supporting public education in that specific area to the level that it needs to be? And board-certified teachers is certainly one of those. I think we actually had a statistic today that I think there's 9 different teachers across District 1 that are actually going through this board-certified teaching process, which is exciting. And so we're really looking at ways of how can we support the principals there? How can we educate and teach, that the principals in particular to support their teachers going through this? And so we're really trying to put some effort and influence behind conversations to continue to move that collaborative relationship forward with the community.
Yeah. So, and those who are watching, if you have a question, go ahead and put that down, and we may try to answer a couple of them before we leave tonight. I look at that as a 3-legged stool.
Right.
What you just said when it comes to North Huntsville, any kind of economic strategy in this or vision plan, I say it that way, because we need all three.
Yep.
And if we take one leg away, it falls, right? And one thing you said is long-term economic, planning, development, because it's not just something that happens overnight, and we don't want just to have something that's here today and gone tomorrow. And it takes effort. It takes people being involved. It takes people being open and giving North Huntsville a chance for that economic development to put businesses there and stores and restaurants or whatever it may be
right.
In that area. And we have to take away the excuses. Because the first thing somebody say, well, it's high crime. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah, right.
Is it really high crime?
Mm-hmm.
Are people getting robbed, down in South Huntsville?
Right.
They were getting robbed in West Huntsville? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we have to deal with that. And we have to talk about the realities of what's going on, and how do we take the lemons that you're throwing and make lemon meringue pie?
Yeah, sure, right. But and part of it is even people changing their perspectives. And so what we've tried to do is meet in different areas of the community where most of the time you don't go but maybe 3 or 5 miles outside of where you live in that little circle.
Yep.
And so some people may never have been north of Oakwood ever.
Yeah. That's true.
And
That's
so
true.
you spend time in a community, you start learning what the culture is in the community and the perspectives of the community, and the vast differences in the perspectives in the community as well, as far as what the community wants and expects. And so when you talk about long-term economic development, also understanding the barriers that even exist, because some in economic development look for certain average salaries in a certain area, a radius, average traffic count in a certain roadway before they'll even bring opportunity there to those areas.
Right.
So there's some things you just can't, you can't push water uphill on some things. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
But how do you encourage individuals and businesses to participate in that?
And I think, that you hit the nail on the head, is that how we encourage people to get outside themselves and learn a different culture, a different way of doing things that may be foreign to them, but very much needed in order for our community to rise together. We all rise together. We don't need a Metro Huntsville or whatever we want to call it, a Tennessee Valley, or North Alabama, that we have great growth in many areas, and then we have this one area that we can't do anything with. I don't believe that should be the case, and I don't believe that some would say, well, we can't do anything about it. I don't believe that for 1 second.
I agree.
I believe it takes effort. It takes everyone, and people have a heart for our city,
right,
okay, our area, and saying, what can I do? What can I learn? What do you need? So many times we say, well, hey, they need this and they need that, and people will come to me and say, you as an African American, what do African Americans need? I'm saying, listen, I'm just one. I cannot speak on behalf of every African American in our area. I can say this is what I see, but we need to go and ask them, what do their community need? What programs are lacking? What resources need to be brought to that community in order to thrive now and definitely in the future.
But you have to have intentionality. You do, and another life saying, I got a lot of them. But,
it's all good.
But one of those is conviction doesn't live on the same block as comfort.
Oh.
So it doesn't. So if you have intentionality, it's not going to be comfortable, and so those create difficult conversations and difficult situations. But again, having a heart for the community, a heart for the work that you do and the mission that you have, and ultimately the grace and humility to be able to move your mission forward. And ours is, again, long term. It's how can we help North Huntsville in particular, because that is part of our strategic plan. It's a heart for what we do and what we're going to do, and we're trying to have intentionality behind those conversations. We don't know it all. I don't know it all. Never will.
Yeah.
But we can listen. We can create an opportunity to listen, and then hopefully we hope that we're going to find a way to partner and share opportunities and growth in our influence to grow and develop North Huntsville.
And I think the opportunity to partner is very, very important. And conviction, and it does not live on the same street, right? It's comfort.
It does not.
And I said this to a group one time last year. I said we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think that we have to start get comfortable being uncomfortable, having uncomfortable conversations, saying uncomfortable things to drive the narrative the right way, so we can get results, so we all can take advantage of the gifts, the talents that God has given us in order to make this world, this country, our state, and specifically our area a better place. Now that sounds good. You say, well, that's Doc, that sounds good preaching right there.
Preach.
But that's painful. But the thing is, we can do it. It's not like we can't do it. Right. We just have to subside, take a checkup from the neck up, look around from the shoulder down, and say, what Doc, what unconscious biases do I have? Okay, even as an African American leader, okay, what unconscious bias do I have, and how do I deal with that in order to accept the community, okay, and what the community want to do in order to have a better life, my kids to have a better life, and live in a better place.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is experiential too. So, some of us have gone through this poverty simulation training, which is about 2.5 hours.
Yes.
And so, back in 2018, we are still under a consent order, and we're trying to get to unitary status in our school system.
Yeah.
And so, part of that conversation is a lot around students that live in poverty. Well, if I'm a teacher and I don't even know what the face of that looks like, I just know I've got a student and they put their head on their desk the minute they get in my classroom, and I just, it's not acceptable, wake up, and then they all of a sudden act up, get mad, then they got to get out of the classroom, learning stops. So, what we thought was, well, we've been through this process of poverty simulation, and it's very impactful, it's very personal, and you really live a month in poverty in these people, in family groups, and you really experience the frustration that our neighbors in poverty live in. And so we were able to provide poverty simulation for about 600 Huntsville City school teachers in the system. They went through this, and then all of a sudden it caught on, and they actually taught all of their teachers, went through this poverty simulation. But at the end of the day, I remember a teacher that stood up and she said, I had no idea. I had no idea that's what my students were going through. I had no idea they maybe didn't eat, or they were up till midnight trying to help their younger brother get something to eat or teach them while mom was out working 2 jobs. And so you're just changing those perspectives, which change the heart. And so that's the way to be very intentional, share those perspectives and share those hands-on opportunities to learn and change your mind through those experiences.
And bringing it from and putting it back from a Christian standpoint, Jesus had a heart for those who are poor. Mm-hmm. He said, the gospel should be even preached to the poor. And I tell you what was interesting, and I went through the poverty assimilation. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I went through it and I wanted to go through it, but here's what I said. I said, well, I will see this, but hey, I live this. I know it. I grew up in the projects. I grew up, but here's the deal. Here's the reality. I think every leader needs to go through the poverty simulation. But because here's what happened, John. I did not realize how many things, problems not having resources cause. Now, I grew up in poverty, but when you have financially grown past that some, and not that you have forgotten it, but you forget all the intricate things. And then there's new things now. See, that was 40 some years ago. 40 years ago. There's new things now, and it messed me up. I left there saying, wow, a guy was born and raised in the projects, thought I knew what poverty was, and I learned so much. Matter of fact, I got frustrated. I think you was a loan.
I was a mortgage guy, I think. Loan guy.
Yeah, loan guy. And I was late or something. You like we closed and
can't help you. Get out of here. Can't help
you. So that led me to not be able to go to the bank. I mean, it kept compounding. I mean, I got frustrated. I mean, literally doing the simulation, I'm like, this ain't fair.
Right.
I said that during the simulation, this is not fair. Wow. And that's me coming from a place long ago of poverty. What about that person who was brought up middle class to rich? Nothing wrong with that. I'm glad that you brought that way. Don't have a clue.
Yeah.
We think we have a clue. Don't.
Well, and I'll give you another example. I had a conversation, it was about a year and a half ago, and we were talking about the incredible Mazda Toyota plant, which is just remarkable, opportunity for workers and opportunity for our community, diversifying our economy. It's a home run. But we were talking about students, and we were talking about, it's out by Greenbrier. Mm-hmm. And, somebody said, man, they might as well be India. They don't know where Greenbrier is at. I mean, it might as well be, thousands of miles away. I mean, because they've never been outside of a mile or so from their house. They haven't had the ability to travel. They haven't had the ability to go to Greenbrier and eat hush puppies.
Oh, that's good. They're good too.
So they're delicious. But the reality is, again, if don't have that perspective and understanding that this is our workforce, this is our potential in the workforce, we've got to provide those access. And so, the conversations around transportation to workforce and transportation to jobs is going and ongoing and having that conversation. And so all of those things help provide access that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, and we need that. Even the company that I lead, we have issues of people not having access to come to work. you know, to even, okay, so you want to work, you want to take care of your family, here's a job, you get an interview, you know, you get to the interview, you get hired, now I got to come to training. I have no way to come to training. And by the way, my son or daughter get out of school at 3, which my interview, okay, my training lasts to 3:30. I mean, and then we say, well, why do you throw their hands up? Well, because you don't have total access. We need total access. We need total resources in order for that person to go to the training for the job in order to get the job. And then guess what? They need a way to route.
Right.
You
That's
know,
right.
and there's nothing easy about what we're saying, but it's possible.
Right.
It
Right.
is absolutely possible.
Yeah, I believe we
Yeah.
have an innovative and creative community of thinkers and doers. We've proved that time and again over the course of the history of our community, and so absolutely we can do that. You know, we are innovators and creators. We can come up with really unique opportunities to tackle some of these big challenges that we face. Absolutely.
No, we call ourselves a smart place, right? You know, we brag on being, you know, the smartest city, one of the smartest cities in the United States of America, and you know, and more PhDs and engineers and other. Okay, and that's good, and I like that, but we have to be smart about how do we help the disenfranchised. Now let me say this: somebody may be watching this or watch this later and say, well, you know, some people just don't want to be helped. True. A true statement. I know people. They don't want to be helped. They find where they're at. They don't. Okay, we have those, but there are many that won't help, and we have to go with the goers, as I say.
Yep.
And help them.
And that's where, again, you know, that concept of collaborating with different people, different individuals, different organizations, and all of a sudden you start having this thread of this compassion and thread for people and compassion and care for that bigger picture and that opportunity that we all can work in our different spaces. You know, people that work in education, in schools, to business, to workforce, to regionalism, to all of these different spaces. All of a sudden you have this thread of collaboration that's happening, and then we're pulling on the oars.
Yep.
We're pulling on the oars together.
Yep.
And so how do we create those opportunities? And again, for an organization like us, that's the work that the space that we try to work in.
And so we appreciate, John, what you're doing, Committee 100, and all the other things. You know, here we, I think the second Monday, we have what we call Free to Prosper. So people who have been struggling and coming off various addictions and things of that nature, we are teaching. We have food. We have various things. We have people coming in teaching on budgeting and all these things. And I'm not saying this just for our church. I'm saying it whether you come here or not, we can care less. We want to be part of the fabric of helping our community, okay, to grow. The individual is important, you know, because the organization is, but no organization is any more powerful than the individuals that make it up. Sure. And those individuals, we ought to be reaching out, helping people, and going forward. I think we're about out of time, man. But
no, is it really?
Close.
Oh, it's been fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always enjoy talking with you. You know,
Well,
it's just real, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Makes me grow as a person, and it's just so helpful for me in the role that I serve.
Well, John, and I sincerely say this in front of everybody who's watching or will be watching. You know, you're doing a good job. Your heart is in the right place. People ask me about John Allen. I said John Allen's heart is in the right place. He's a good guy, and I don't say that just on a whim. I say that because I really mean that. I really do. And we need more people doing in their space. Listen, you only can do what you called to do. I can only do what I'm called to do, okay? So all of us have a role in this, whether you part of Committee 100, whether you part of another organization, part of another church, or whatever it may be, do your part. We all have to do our part, and if God has blessed us, we are blessed to be a blessing. Yep. The good book says that in Genesis 12th chapter, Abraham, you're blessed to be a blessing. So we all, which means that if God has given us something, we have something to share, something to give, we ought to give it, and we do that. When I was in NASB, National Society of Black Engineers, years ago, we used to say, each one reach one, so everybody just need to reach one person. Let's do our job to get something done. We're living in a great time in this country, great time in this city. Now we got COVID and all that going on, and I pray for people, but we have to keep living. We're gonna figure out how to live, amongst it, because time is still moving. But we have to take advantage of opportunities, and definitely here in our Huntsville area, man. So
Absolutely.
thank you for who you are.
Thanks,
and,
Doc.
and what you're doing. I didn't even look at this. Well, everybody said thank you both. Oh, here's one question. We got time. Maybe we'll try to answer this one. Okay, what it says. Thank you both. Okay. What is the vision? What is the vision that the Committee of 100 has for the community of North Huntsville? And I can answer this. And how will it impact the people within that area? And then another one says, what is a long-term plan to ensure that the dollars stay within the community that you're trying to affect and change? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, the answer is we don't know yet. We're trying to have conversations within the community, within the elected leaders in the community, with North Huntsville Business Association, others that are participating in that in the community. And so we don't know. We're trying to do our work that says these are some of the long-term things that we can do in those 3 different areas that we work in.
Yeah.
And some of those points that you brought up might be the case. How do we keep the dollars in the communities that we're trying to work in?
Yeah.
But we're trying to ultimately we try to create a vibrant, business-oriented focus and a vibrant area and opportunity for entrepreneurs and others, and a focus on that community in particular with this vision. And so we're trying to partner and collaborate and listen and be very humble about the fact that we don't know it all, and we're trying to learn, and we're trying to find those ways where we can participate in we can use our mission and our efforts in the strategic plan in North Huntsville to partner with the community over the long term, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, looking down the road to make a difference.
And I think that you kind of answered that in a part. I'm gonna tell you why. Because if we do long term have those businesses in the community, that dollar is turned over in that community because business is done in that community. But when that community have to go to other communities for everything, then the dollar it leaves it immediately. But if I can go and buy groceries in my community, it's in my community. If I could go and do certain things and have certain amenities, then it's in that community, and hopefully some of those people are from that community that own those businesses.
Right, absolutely.
So I think you're on the right.
So we're listening a lot.
Yeah.
We're going to listen a whole lot more.
Good. Hey, here's the deal. No bad days, right? So what John is talking about, we're talking about economics, talking about leadership, education, all this. Hey, we're not going to have any bad days. We may have some bad moments. We may have a bad hour, 2 hours, but never a bad day. Y'all know I don't believe in that, okay? Because it's too much at stake to throw away a whole day, okay? So here's the deal. It's Super Sunday. It's Marvelous Monday. It's Terrific Tuesday. It's Wonderful Wednesday. It's Triumphant Thursday. It's Fantastic Friday. It's Successful Saturday. I'm Doc Rock. This is John Allen. You join us at the top. We'll see you later. Thank you. I'm Doc Rock. Join me at the top.